Okay, so let's continue on our Excel basics using our playtime sheet. And so what we need to do is let's look at rounding in Excel. So Providence College estimates the size of the freshman class by using this formula. And that is 17.54 times the year minus 3,430. So let's key that in. So equals, so we're telling it we're starting an equation, 17.54 times whatever the year is minus 34,300. Now I do want to point out that as we go along with this, the way that I've written this equation, I don't like this. I do not like burying numbers in equations. Why? Because if any of these factors change, you have to go into the equation and you have to try to remember all of the equations that you had to make this change. So I'll show you what I would rather do here in a second. So if we execute that, we get 1,113.26. Now if I go up here, I can increase and decrease the decimal size. So if I increase it down there, you see we're at, because obviously we're not going to have 0.26 of a student. So we go, I have 1,113 students. Now Excel, just because that's what I'm displaying, that's not what they're going to calculate at. So if you expand this out, Excel will go up to 13 digits. Or it's 14 or 15, but it'll go to some absurd amount, and no matter how you display it and round it, it's going to tell, that's what number it's going to use. Now, so let's take a look at how I would rather write this equation than this, is if you look over here, I have a slope and I have an intercept, which these are the numbers that I would use here. And so no matter if you're doing business, science, or engineering, I would always rather see these numbers in a cell where you can easily change. I've seen so many instances over the years of where somebody put one of these numbers in wrong, and it just took a long time to fix the sheet. So what do? Equals. We take 17 point, there we go, just click on that cell. We're going to multiply that by my year. I am then going to, I can subtract the intercept, but since we put the intercept in here as negative, I'm just going to add the negative number. And you can see I got that 113. If I expand out my decimals, because I told it I didn't want anything, I still get 0.26. Okay, so I've got this here. Let's say that I want to round this because I do not want to use those numbers. I want to make sure that I have a whole number to calculate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say equals. I've started an equation. I'm going to use a function. The neat thing about functions in Excel is you start typing. I type R. It starts to list out all of the different functions that I have that are associated with R. And so I'm going to keep going to round. Now I've got round, round down, round up. We're just going to use the regular round. And as it tells me, it rounds to a number to a specific number of digits. I can go to round down. It's going to round the number. Always will round it down towards 0. We'll always round it up away from 0, but we're just going to use round. And so I've typed that in. What I do is I open the parentheses to start the function. One of the nice things about Excel is there's a ton of embedded help into it because now I have a function. There's a specific way that I have to write it in there, and Excel's telling me how I have to write it. So it's going to be number, comma, the number of digits that I'm going to round to. You'll notice that number is bolded because that's what it's expecting right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on that cell. So I want to round that number in cell E7, comma. As soon as I put the comma in, now it's going to bold the number of digits. Well, how many digits do I want to round it to? I want it to be a whole number, so I am just going to say 0. I am going to close the parentheses. Now my function is written. If I hit enter, you will see 1,103 students, 0.00, so it's rounded it to what I want. I want to get rid of my decimal points. Also, I want to put a comma in here because I like commas. I like the thousand separators. Automatically defaults it to an accounting format. When I do it, that's fine. And then I'll just get rid of those. I like when you're using the bigger numbers to have the comma in there. In fact, let's go over here to intercept. We'll put that in. Now, as I do that, it puts it into accounting format, and the accountants like the parentheses to show that it's negative. If you don't like that, what we can do is we can just take it to number. If I go to here, this little arrow down, I can go into the format. I can leave it in number, say use the thousand separator, get rid of the decimals, and there it gives me my number in negative, normal negative format like we expect, and the comma in there. Once again, I like using the commas a lot for big numbers because it just makes things look a little bit better. So now, why is the rounding important? Well, let's take a look at revenue. So my tuition at Providence right now is $51,490 a year. So let's take my estimated number of freshmen. I'm going to multiply it by the amount of tuition for the year. And that tells me that revenue-wise will bring in $57,321,757.40. But that's also based on a quarter of a student. So let's now do the rounded tuition. And you can see that there's a slight difference there. So let's figure out exactly what the difference is. And so we'll take our projected revenue from our 1,113.26. We'll subtract what we have, what our real revenue is going to be, and we're going to see those numbers are going to be off by about $13,000. And so this is where things become important. Now, I want you to notice if I get rid of the decimal places there, this number does not change because Excel still calculates out everything based off of what numbers in the cell, not what it's displaying. Okay, so let's look at another function. And sum product is, I love this function. We're going to use it quite a bit. And so basically, let's do it the normal way first. If I wanted to figure out, there's my prices of my t-shirt, shorts, and hat. There's the number I'm going to sell. So what do? We sit there and go, okay, well, I've got a $15 price. I'm going to multiply that by my 2 t-shirts, and then I'm going to add to that my $20 price times my 1 pair of shorts, and then I'm going to add to that my hat and multiply that by my 3 hats. $86. That wasn't too bad, but that was only a couple of different things. If this list gets a lot bigger, it's just going to be more of a pain. Let's look at this product. I have what's called sum product. So, returns the sum of products of corresponding arrays. So, let's do that, and it's array 1, and then we can do it with any number of arrays. So what it's going to do is, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to drag down as I'm holding down the left mouse button, and I'm going to select an array. And this is the way that Excel does arrays. It gives you the first and the last point. So E13 to E15. If it's a 2x2, or this would be a 3x2 array, it's E13 to F15. So that's just the way it does it. So I'm going to take that array, and I want a comma to go into the next array, and I want to do it with this array. Now, we can keep doing this with the multiple arrays, and we'll do that more as we do more and more advanced Excel stuff. And so if I look at that, $86. So what happened? Well, it took this array, the E13 to E15, took this array, F13 to F15, and it did matrix math. It took the first terms, multiplied them together, took the second terms, multiplied them together, took the third terms, multiplied together, and then added them all up. They have to be the same ranges. So if you have a 2x2 matrix, if you're going to sum product, you got to do it with another 2x2 matrix. But this is going to save a lot of time, especially if there's a lot of numbers on the list. So we're going to be looking at the sum product function quite a bit.